So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show with live peoples, Ustream.tv, and it's recorded for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. So thank you for all these people on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you like these videos. If you've got any comments, any requests, pop them in the little box below. I've scratched some colour on this page, and this will be part 2. So part 1, I'd already scratched the colour in, just manipulating with a damp rigger brush, 3 different sizes, and a tiny Winsor & Newton one. So the 3 brushes I've been using is a 2, a 4, a 6, a 4 and a 2, and these are the Riggers Aquafine by Daily Rowney. So I've basically got a medium, a thin and a fine, and I find that's quite good. And then I've got this little tiny one, so you can use the other one that I like to use is a 10-0 Art Master Pearl series 55 rigger. It's 55, sorry. It's not a rigger, but it's quite fine. And that's one of my other favourite ones. That one's split because I've used it so much, but that's the one I like. But if you can't find that one, this is the little Winsor & Newton travel one, and it's in the little travel packs that you get. So that's quite a nice handy little one to have for little tiny spaces. So I'm working with my my pencil case, which holds 180 pencils, and they're in these sleeves, so I can flip them over. I've got 3 sets in here, and they're in colour order, not manufacturer order. So I have Prisma watercolours, I have Swiss colour from Caran d'Ache, and I have my Derwent watercolour pencils, and that's given me, instead of 3 and 2 and 2, I've got them all in colour order. So I would say all those are yellows, and then I've got Spanish orange, deep chrome, middle chrome. Caran d'Ache don't actually name these particular ones, but I'd say I've got another 4 oranges, and then I've got another kind of reddy oranges up here, orange chrome, up to Vermilion and Geranium Lake, and then I've kind of used this space here for my skin tones. So these are the peachy oranges, and these are the pinky tones. And it took me quite a while, but I wanted to have certain ones in a certain place. So this one, I've now got my orange reds, my pink reds, my pinks, pinky purples, purples and purple blues. And that works quite well. I've also managed to get all my blues. So I've got my purple blues, my cold blues, my pale blues, my dark blues and my green blues on this side. And then I flip over and I have my pale greens, pales to darks, and then my olives on this side. And then lastly I have my browns. So I've got straw colours. So I've pinched the Derwent's number 5 and gold, and I've put them with my browns and my siennas. And then I've got my dark browns up that side. And then on the other side I've got lastly the greys, the blacks and the whites. And I've got these graphy tones, darks and lights and medium washes. So these are pencils to do a pencil wash from Derwent. Derwent sketching pencils, and there's a Derwent graphy tone. So these are for doing grayscale washes. So I kind of like those in there, because it's turned my pencil case into a watercolour case rather than just a pencil case. And in the case that it comes with, you can get a colour book, and you can also get on the back of the colour book, the pencil case, you also have lots and lots of loops with some larger loops at one side, and you can get your watercolour pencils, paintbrushes, and your paintbrushes in there as well. So I've done a bit quick flick of that in earlier today, so there is another video going up. So I scratched the colour in and then manipulated it with the number 4 brush, but as you can see, exactly the same, because I left the white where I wanted a highlight. When I've manipulated the pink, I've taken it up, but because there's no colour, it's shown a highlight. So I have a natural highlight where I've left it plain. And then where it's darker, I've put a little bit more of a layer on. So it's very little pressure on your hands. So dark here, I've got a little bit more, and then the rest is just a very faint. And this is, I think, Geranium Lake. So it's actually a red, but because I've used it very soft, it's gone to kind of a peachy pink flamingo colour. So I scratched the tiny bit exactly the same on every wing. And what that's done is when I touched it, I've activated it where it's dark and then just taken it up to the top of every feather. And it's given me a natural highlight because there's no colour there. So it was done in exactly the same way, but this one's been activated, this one hasn't. It's exactly the same colour. I then scratched some colour actually onto the page, and where you've got a tiny space or I wanted a highlight, I've used a paper palette. So I've put a green and indigo together to make a darker green, which made a lovely shadow. But you can do that afterwards. Scratching these colours on here enables you to actually take the book and your brushes with you and leave the pencils at home. And then, of course, when you come back, you can work into the page and put all your shadows and make it come to life. But I like this travel way of doing things. So I've got my indigo, which is number 36. And I haven't got, I mean, you'd say that was very blunt, that particular pencil. There's no point sharpening it. I don't really want a sharp point. I want a lovely soft colour. So very lightly, don't have to press on hard. And if you do sharpen your pencils, don't press on hard because they'll just snap. Just scribble a little bit of colour. And then if you want that darker, very carefully scribble over it again. Ow. I do tend to twist my paintbrushes, so there is a bit of a point there because I've got lots of facets, which are little flat areas. So if you keep turning it, you will make a point naturally. So I like to find all these clouds, and I never knew what to do with these clouds. I hated doing them until I played with the indigo pencil, and that really gave me the idea of how to not be afraid of them. Because in Kirby's early books there's so many clouds and so much going on that I found if you pick out the clouds, other things pop out. Like I did this cloud here, and you couldn't really see the rose, but you can. So when you want to colour the rose, if you can do the clouds first. There's a cloud here, I haven't done it, but it's sorted out the head of the swan. So sometimes picking out these particular clouds helps you kind of sort out what's behind and what's in front. So I don't seem to have any clouds here, but you can look and think there's no clouds, and then there will be, but I don't think there's any clouds. We've got that one, oh, there's one here. So again, I'm just putting the colour. So you can do this with Neocolours, you can do it with any good quality watercolour pencil. The Derwent Art Bars would do this. Anything that's good quality water-based medium, you can do this with. Pencil or crayon. So just going to scribble a little bit of colour. And you don't really want to have a dark line. When you want to do it dark, you do it on here, and you scribble, and then you scribble again, and then you scribble again. If you push on, it's not only hurts your fingers, but there's no need. There's quite a lot of colour on there. So we're doing it in a really gentle way. So if you've got pulley hands, or if you want to colour all day, you can use this method, because you're not gripping the pencil, you're just scratching it across the surface. So you can technically do this all day and you're not going to hurt your hands. So I'm going to put my particular indigo away. I'm not sure how long these loops are going to last, but they're holding up quite well, and it's just a nice tight fit, so none of these pencils are going to fall out, which I like. But they're still quite nice. You've got to push them up with your finger, because I have poly fingers, so it's easy just to push that up and then pull it out. Twist it to where it's supposed to go and push it in. So you can have all your names apart from the Swiss colour. So I think there's about 3 different Prismacolors that are Caran d'Ache Caran d'Ache pencils. I think there's about 3 or 4, but as long as it has that little paintbrush, when it has the little paintbrush, it's a sign that it's a watercolour pencil. So all the Caran d'Ache have that one, the little watercolour pencil. The ink tints you can do like this as well, but the difference is that once it's activated, like this page, the ink tints won't move as well. This one will always move because it's professional watercolour. If it's the Derwents are professional watercolours. They're light fast, they're colour fast and light fast, but it's a watercolour, so it will always move. So I was just going to have a look for a darker green. So again, I just get these across, and I think, do I want a paler one, a darker one? And I like them in that kind of order. I do like the dark green of the Prisma, but I'm going to I do like sap green. Oh, we have a cedar green actually. We'll use a cedar green. So I've been putting a little bit of yellow underneath. So I've got cadmium, lemon yellow, and the lemon cadmium, which is a cool yellow. So on the tree, where it's highlights, I've put all yellow. And again, it's just a soft scribble. And then where we have this cross-hatching and the darker marks to indicate where it's going to be dark, just scratching a bit of the darker colour. So just pop those back. Then you don't have hundreds of colours to keep popping back every time. So I do the I'll do all the colours first, and then I'll zoom in and do the waters. So I'm not sure what that is behind. It's either the wing of the... underneath. It's either the leg of the flamingo. So if I'm not sure, I leave it. So I'm going to go for these leaves here, and I like the dark green. So it's going to look slightly different than the other side, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to scratch a bit at the base of every leaf. And that sometimes coincides with the hatching and cross hatching. We have a tiny butterfly down here. And then sometimes when you've sorted out some of these leaves, other things appear. Like there's a chameleon. Have you a chameleon there? And I'm not scrubbing very dark, I'm just putting the tiniest amount on. And then I'm sure once we get this, you can see behind then, and that's the idea. Sometimes you have to do these with the Kirby's, is pick out something that you know, so obviously I'm doing these green, and when you've picked them out, I think that one goes around there, you can then see other things. So that one goes up there, that one goes up there. There's something there, but I don't know what it is, so I'm going to leave that. It's not a leaf. So that leaf goes down there, and then I think there is a bit of a leaf up there. And there's a little fox there. There's a lovely little fox there. And possibly. So I think we've done all our greenery. So if you can see the green, it's all scratched into there. Oh, sorry. Oh dear, the babes are asleep. The babes are asleep. So we've got some little creatures. We've got a caterpillar, the little fox. So we want a brown, but we want a red brown. So we'll pick a red brown. There's a terracotta. There's a Venetian red. And this is where I used my little book of watercolours, but unfortunately I put it somewhere, which was a very silly thing to do. Yep, very silly thing to do. But I use that for the colours. So there's a sienna brown. We'll have a look at Venetian red. And again, you can scratch a bit of colour. Terracotta. That's more fox colour. So we've got terracotta. So I think I'm going to use Venetian red, and then for his tail, I don't actually think I'm going to change that colour. I'm going to leave that as it is. So again, where it's dark, I'm using terracotta in the Prisma watercolours. And I'll be manipulating manipulating colour. So again, just scratched a little bit of colour in. I've got one or two of these little alien creatures which I don't particularly like. They kind of put me off a bit, but never mind. There's a pinwheel lollipop. I think we're going to see if we could do that a pinky red colour. Crimson red. I think we'll use crimson red in the middle, and then I'll spiral it out, I think. We've done all our clouds. We've got some browns, so we'll use our browns on those. And then we've got burnt yellow ochre number 60. I think we'll do our little dinosaur. And of course, remember, when we get the colour on, I think we'll do a copper beach. And then we can kind of think that's the tree. So while we have our browns out, we will look at number 65 chocolate, and we have a tree here, so I'll put a bit of this here. So we've kind of got a bit of a shadow going on. And I think that's the tree down here as well, but we'll know better. Again, it gets a bit mixed up there, so I always leave it if I'm not sure. Hi, Alfie. So there's a leaf there that I've missed, but there will be enough green to do that. Those are catkins, I think. So I think I'm going to do those. I've got a dark umber, so I think I'm just going to put a bit of umber on one side, so we can kind of manipulate that colour there, I think. We have a lovely fish. I think we might do him those bright turquoise colours. So I've got kingfisher blue, which I really like, so I think we're going to have a kingfisher blue. And again, I think I'm just going to put a little bit and have a watercolour effect. And then when we turn over to our greens, there's a turquoise green. What's that one? There's a parrot green. I think that's quite nice. Yeah, that's quite a nice green. And again, we can manipulate that. And I've just forgotten the top fin. So that's one little fishy done. I think these are kind of maybe pale yellow. They're pale yellow, and I'll do the stamens a brighter colour, I think. I've got a sunburst yellow. This is a Swiss colour and it's number 61624. So I think I kind of want those a yellow colour. That one is 61359. And Here we go. So I think I've got quite a bit scratched out on there. So we've got Metal Mickey there, so we'll just take a few greys. Oops. And this one is number 62122. And I think I'm just going to put a bit of grey on there. And I think the flamingo, oh, maybe not. And then I think we'll have a paler one. This one's French grey 20%. I like French grey, but I think that one's Gunmetal 69. And we can manoeuvre that. And it's always nice to have a bit of a zigzag. We've got another bird here. So I think I'll just activate a bit of this now, and then you can see how it oh, excuse me, throat's going a bit yuck. So we've got the big number 4 Regat twist on a baby white, and activate this colour and manoeuvre it around a little bit. So you can see we're getting some darker bits here. So we do need a little bit more manoeuvrability around here. The more you wet it, the more it will buckle, so we're trying desperately not to wet it too much. And then pick up that really deep red. Do need a little bit more interest on there, and then a nice highlight. And you need to turn this now, because you do want a nice comfortable angle. So forget the dark pink, we're picking this up and we are going to manoeuvre that up to create a lovely, and we can't touch it again until we've Again, it's a big space to wet, so you might find it buckles a little bit, but you've got to be a little bit brave. And then we turn it the other way so we can get this angle now. And it's buckled a little bit, but the other one did, but it's because you're wetting a big space. We're trying to create a soft highlight. And we may as well do it down here while we're here. So again, twisting that on a baby wipe, picking up just a little bit of that colour and blending it across. Not too much. The least damp you can get it, the drier it will be. And then I'm going to turn that upside down so we can do that. Hi Kingo, welcome to Bunny's Designs. So we can get all into there and everything's going to be okay. And because this now is extremely wet, I don't even need to go in the water now. I just need to pick up some dampness because this is the biggest space. And sometimes this is where it gets a bit too wet, and we really don't want it to be too wet. So just smallest space you can. Create this nice. And we're just gently manipulating this rigger around. So we've got a bit of a buckle there, but not very much, and it will go flat because the other one did. So now I need to change to a finer brush, so we'll go for the number 2 rigger. Hi guys, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Thanks for stopping by. Hope everybody's alright today. It's a bit of a miserable day and I've got a bit of a croak on today. So I've got to a smaller brush, and then if you do each individual one, you'll get a lovely highlight like we had on the other side. So clean brush, twist on a baby wipe, activate the colour, and then push it up. Activate the colour and manipulate it. Activate the colour and then manipulate it. Activate the colour and then manipulate that, and then the same with that one. And you end up with just quite a nice little effect going on. And so activate that one, oops, and do that. So eventually it will look like that one. Sorry guys, just had a moment with the dogs. So this, I think this pink is the let me have a look which pink it is. I think it's the lake. I think it's Geranium Lake number 15, which is this one. And I was trying the pinks, and when you take this, it's a red. But when you make it pale, it becomes flamingo colour about here. So it's actually Geranium Lake. And it's not a pinky red, it's a salmon pink red. Salmon red, is that the right word? So we don't want it all there, we just want a lovely highlight. Oh, thank you, Kinko, thank you. So we put that about. And then we just manipulate where I've scratched it. So you can either do it straight away like this, or you can wait. The colour doesn't do anything. It's not like a pastel where you've got to cover it up, or the neos are very strong. These probably won't do anything if you shut the book. It's just pencil until you activate it, and then it becomes a watercolour. And again, we can go back in there and put some shadows in a bit later. We just want to get some colour in here to start with. And we can just have that lovely colour around that nose, and then I'll go back in there. I think that's because you've got the cloud. So you could do this with the watercolour brush. I would do this with the Derwent number 1, unless you found a very dry one. The Derwent number 1 is the driest I've found. So you could activate your colour. But I think I prefer if I'm doing it, oops, like that. So the other thing I like about it is it's fairly quick. So I've just got my water pot and I'm dunking so that the brush is flat. So you don't want to be digging too much, twisting to a point and then activating it. So going where it's darkest and then manipulating that so you can get a highlight. And you just carry on. So you can do this, you can fill the whole book with colour. If you're going away, you could fill the whole book with colour and then do this at a later date, or you can watch any video that does this and either stop when you've activated the colour or watch a video that just uses the scratching method and then activate it. And I wouldn't go back in here. I mean, it's dry, but it's still it's going to be damp for a while, even though it's not going to smudge. Technically, it's dried, but it's been moved once. I would leave it for a day and then go back in there, because I like it naturally than using a hairdryer. Plus the fact hairdryers are quite noisy, and I just like the idea that this is a really nice, quiet, peaceful way to work. So if anybody's watching in YouTube land, please if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. Oops, I just made a mistake with that, the tail, but I think we can get away with that. To make him a dark dog instead of a white dog. So it's a fairly quick, clean, easy way to work. And then you can go in with your paper palette a bit later and put some more shadows in. You can feel the end of the brush drying out a little bit, so again that's another time to start. And we've got the cloud that goes into there. And then I think we can darken that up as well. So I broke the nib on I broke the tip of the pencil, so what you can do, oops, is no, definitely not throw all this colour away. It's all pure colour, this. I wanted some dark under here. See how strong that is? And it's probably a bit too strong, but could create a shadow if we wanted. But definitely keep that. So clean the brush, and again that's clean and that's clean. Wastage is very, very minimal, which again I love. I love the fact that all my pencil colour, which I paid a lot of money for, is actually going onto the page and not down the sink. Which is another reason why I don't bother to sharpen them, because I don't need them sharp. I could put a little bit of colour and then manipulate the colours. I did have a nice highlight on that one. And this damp brush now is just going to pick up some lovely colours. And then we're just doing what we did in part one, which was just manipulating the colour, getting that colour on the brush and then moving it up so we have a highlight. So we have a lovely highlight. And we can push that right to the lines with our damp brush. And then when we think it's going to get a little bit dry, which this one might actually go the full length, I think, because it's a rigger, remember, so it's going to hold dampness. It's not wet, but it's going to hold dampness. So we've managed to get all the way down there, and then we just do our little fox. So again, little foxy, take the colour up and down. And that gorgeous tail. So I've got a lovely highlight on him. We didn't do anything. The same with the leaves. I just do the leaves really quickly. And you can do it a lot neater than me. Just stroke that, and then when you get to the end you just carry on and you've got a highlight. But remember, we want a shadow under there, but we'll let that dry this time and we'll catch it next time. We'll just go in there with a little bit of indigo. So we've got our lovely highlight and then we have our shadow. Be a bit careful there because we have a butterfly. So go in there, pick up that really rich colour and then take it down to the edge to have that lovely soft highlight. Again, the highlight on that one. Activate all that colour and then the rigger does the rest of the work. Just activates the colour and then just slowly dilutes it very gently, so we get a watercolour effect. But we've got one stick of colour, that's all. We've got all those greens with beautiful little highlights. So it's a really, as I say, it's a really nice calming way to work. So, and it would be nice for a present for somebody that's probably not as easy to do, holding pencils. And I kind of found a few more of these. So. And remember, if it's much of a muchness, or if it's kind of all the same, don't worry, we can put some highlights, sorry, some shadows in there. We can just use a little bit of darker colour a bit later, like we did in part one, and we get a lovely shadow. And the rigger will just carry on. So again, we haven't lost I haven't wasted any, so what I want to do now is just go down there, because I didn't put any colour down there. If the space is too small for your paintbrush, it doesn't matter. Sorry, for your pencil, it doesn't matter, because you can get in there with a paintbrush, because you're picking up colour all the time. So that's why sometimes you want to clean your brush, because you won't get your highlight. But at the bottom here I'm not bothered, because I don't really want the same highlight. So just continue with that one. Clean the brush. And the other thing that's happened is, because you've now done all these, and I've forgotten that one, so if I go in here and pick up some green, go in here and pick up some green, and this one, I've probably got enough for that pale one up there. And this one as well, so we'll do this one. By doing this, we've kind of sorted out what's behind it now. We can see better. So it's always better to pick. A leaf is always a good one, because you know what a leaf is. You know roughly it's going to be a green one, and then when you've done all that, you can see behind it now. There's all sorts of things going on behind it, which is difficult to see before you get all this greenery coloured in. So that's why I start with the greenery. And I'm not sure what that is under there, so I've left it. I think this is another leaf. There's a leaf there and a leaf there. So I think we've got all those leaves done. I'm going to swap to a larger brush, and I'll just do that one, because I'm going to go with the medium one. This is number 4 rigger. Again, the pale, and pick up the darker. I think I might actually use the largest one, number 6. It's a little bit wet, is this one, but no, you might want the same one as the one on the other side, but I thought I wanted a bit of a change here. And you can always put a darker tone on it a bit later. But we've kind of got a bit of a highlight going on. And then I go to the smallest brush and activate this chocolate brown. So we've got a highlight there. I'm going to take that down because I want to come back up, but I want to highlight, so I don't want to activate too much because the chocolate one is very strong and I want to keep a few darks. But I like that highlight on there. And then again, that baby wipe's quite wet now, so if I was working any thinner I'd have to squeeze the baby wipe out. Just get a chance to do these, so these are dark at this side. And we've picked up enough colour to do the stems. So this is now really wet. It's extremely wet. And squeeze it out and pour it back in here, and so you can see that water is still clean. I'll pop it back in there, and that's why you do need a jam jar lid or a little lid, purely because it will gather water. Oh, hi Mel, welcome to Bunny's Designs. So we've got this area done. Just going to do a little fishy. So I'm going to use the number 4, I think, for this one. This is the medium size. So again, just like the Neos, these melt, but these are professional watercolours, and these just melt. I'll take that to here and then activate this. I was going to try and get a highlight on the ends, but sometimes you want very little colour. These are strong. And lastly the tail. There we go. I think that line there is the bottom of the wing. So we've coloured that one in, and oops. So we've coloured all that in fairly quickly, so you can scratch the colour and activate it. I think that one is a slightly different pink. That one is a different pink. If you look, that's a salmony pink. And that one is Geranium Lake. So you have to determine what colour fish your flamingo is eating. So I love the fact it's flat. I still got 1 or 2 colours to manipulate, and then I can go in there and put some dark shadows in, like we did in part 1 with this one. Just put some shadows in and make it a little bit three-dimensional. So that's the end of part 2. Thank you for watching.